Okay. So I'll take you straight to the question papers, or to the questions, directly to the questions. I will straight disregard the instructions for now, but please, when you're writing your final examination, don't forget that you're supposed to go through the instructions. Okay. Section A, rural, urban settlement, rural and urban settlements, and the economic geography of South Africa. First question is rural and urban settlement. Okay. The first question says, various options are provided as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only letter A to D next to the question numbers 1.1.1 to 1.1.8 in the answer booklet. For example, 1.1.9 D. So you just need to write something like that. All right. We're looking at 1.1.1. That's where we start from. The rural settlement pattern shown below is rural. They said rural settlement pattern shown below. We are looking at the pattern. Remember, when you talk about pattern, we are only concentrating on two aspects, and that is nucleated and dispersed. Okay, so that is where our concentration will be when we talk about rural, when you talk about patterns. Okay, so that means circular and linear are out. So we are going to consider these two. But I'm saying the rural settlement pattern shown below is which one? We have here an isolated farmstead or a farmstead. And you can see that they are far away from each other. So if the settlements are far away from each other, we say it is dispersed. Therefore, it becomes C. So 1.1.2, nucleated rural settlements are associated with nucleated rural settlement are associated with, you go and look at the options. They said nucleated. That means when people are close to each other in a rural area, what are they associated with? Extensive farming. Of course, it can't be extensive. Extensive means large piece of land. There is no way if people are concentrated to close to each other, you can have free land or extensive land. So that one is out. Fragmented land. So if the land is fragmented, it means it's broken into pieces. Monoculture, that is practice of growing one type of crop, and use of bulk machinery. That one is also out. So the answer is B. Okay. The situation of a settlement is, what is a situation? Remember, we look at the settlement in relation to the surrounding area. So when you look at a settlement in relation to the surrounding area, obviously the answer is going to be C. Okay. An economic factor, economic. You see the point of the question. It says economic. And then they talk about economic. That means you're looking at the economic situation that influences a situation of a rural settlement. So if it's economic, of these ones, which one is economic factor? Fertile soil, microclimate, gentle, and local market. The answer is going to be D, because this is physical, this is physical, this is physical. This is now economic. Okay. We proceed. 1.1.5. 1.1.5. Dash is a social factor. Social, meaning something that affects people's lives directly. It is safety, rainfall, markets, topography. This is physical, this is economic, this is physical. The only social factor is safety. So that becomes A. Okay. A settlement below is described as, what is it? A settlement below. There is a lake here, and there are settlements around the lake, or that farmstead. So is it a wet point settlement that is nucleated, a dry point settlement that is nucleated, or a wet point settlement that is dispersed, a dry point settlement that is dispersed? The moment they said dispersed and dispersed, those ones are going to be out, because this is not dispersed, this is concentrated. Okay, around one central place. So if a settlement is close to the water body, it's a wet point, not a dry point. Therefore, the answer here is A. Okay. That is the shape of a settlement below was influenced by the sea. So I think you have seen cities like Durban, how they are, which shape do they form. This is a semicircle. So that means if you draw this other side, it will form a complete circle, but it is a semicircle halfway. So it's C. All right. And last one under that topic, under that section, is the physical factor. The word is physical. Is the key point. Physical factor that influence the shape of a settlement below. Which physical? So we have the reef here, and we have a river here. These are farmsteads, these are roads. Okay. A road is not physical. Okay, let's see here. So there is a river, which is a perennial river, narrow valley, which is in between these reef mountains. So fertile soils, we cannot see them here. And gentle land is not even gentle. So the two factors, that is 2 and 1, are right. 2 and 1 is A. Go to the next question, which is 1.2 now. 1.2 is a classification of a settlement. Remember I told you that we don't need to look at the question before. We need to interpret the diagram first. So here is an isolated farmstead or a farmstead, a hamlet, a village, which is specifically rural settlement here, then town, city, metropolis, and a conurbation. And here the arrow is showing that increase in the range. It means we're looking at the distance the customers are willing to travel for the goods and services. So increase in the number of the functions, the size offers, they also increase as you're going up. Those I mean the functions. So here they decrease as you're going down, and they decrease in the range. Okay. Let's look at the questions. 1.2.1, settlement ranked according to function or population. When you look at that settlement, it's basically according to the function. What do they offer? Okay. Because when you say a settlement is according to population, is it looking at the population anyway? Okay. So this way, we look at the function. Remember, rural is unifunction and the other one is multifunction. So the answer is that one. A metropolis or a conurbation is made up of the city with independent town. A city with independent town. Obviously, it becomes a conurbation. A village or a town is the smallest urban settlement. Urban. So, smallest of the urban can't be a village. Obviously, it becomes a town. The range of a town or a city will be greater. The range of a town or a city will be greater. So, go with the city. That is the conurbation. Metropolis is the greater number of functions and size. Obviously, is a conurbation. And lastly, as the size of the settlement increases, the number of this type of settlement will decrease. As the size increases, the number of the settlements will decrease. The next one, we go to this diagram. Let's interpret it first. Okay. It's talking about rural-urban migration, which is the movement from rural areas to urban. The arrow is indicating it. Here, it shows that they are farm areas. Here, it showed the word of CBD. They talk about problems faced by rural areas like farm killings, poverty, natural disasters, lack of job opportunities, and mechanization that has taken away people's jobs. Okay. So B is the higher wages, better services, security, and reliable source of food. In B, those are the pull, and the other one is the push. The first concept to be defined is rural-urban migration. So this simply means the movement of people from where? From rural to urban. Movement of people from rural to urban areas. Next one says that identify one social push factor, pushing people away from the rural area. What is it? Push, but they want only social. That is identified in the factor push social factor in A. So when you look at A here, which one is social? Obviously, the one that affects people's life directly is poverty. Poverty. State two basic services that are more accessible in urban areas than rural areas. Two basic services. Like what? Better basic services. We can look at aspects like medical services. Okay. Medical services. Okay. Accessibility to running water. Accessibility to running water. Okay. Basic services like what? Better education. You can talk about better education. It's better in urban areas that makes them accessible. Okay. How can rural migration create challenges for the provision of housing in B? How can rural urban migration create challenges for the provision of housing in B? How does it create challenges? So it will mean that houses are going to be insufficient compared to the number of people. Houses will be insufficient compared to the number of people. You can also look at the fact that overcrowding, it will result into overcrowding. Overcrowding, it will result into overcrowding in the houses in urban areas due to frequent the influx of the people from rural areas. So you can supplement it. Okay, suggests two intervention strategies that can be implemented by to decrease the rural urban migration. In other words, what strategies can be put in place to ensure that rural urban migration is decreased? Okay, is decreased. Those strategies are going to be like provision of basic services to urban to rural areas, Then you can talk about aspects like industrial decentralization, industrial decentralization, sorry, industrial decentralization. That is putting industries in areas where they've never existed. And we talk about infrastructural development, develop infrastructures in rural areas like roads, so on. Okay. Okay, we can also talk about improve the education or provision of education in the rural areas. Basic education in the rural areas. So in other words, what can be done in rural areas to stop people from leaving rural areas to go to urban areas? Okay. We go to 1.4. 1.4 is referred to the sketch below of the photograph that show part of the area A in the rural urban fringe. Okay. What is a rural urban? Where is a rural urban fringe located? Where is it located? We say at the edge of the city or the periphery of the city. Where is the rural urban fringe located? Periphery, periphery of the city and rural area. Okay, the periphery of the urban areas and rural areas. Okay, that's where it can be located. State two economic activities in the photograph which are found in the urban fringe. Which economic activities? So that can be found in rural urban fringe. We can talk about manufacturing. Then you talk about agriculture, because I can see small farms, which we know as, you can categorize it under agriculture. How does the economic activity B benefit from being located to the rural urban fringe? This B here. How does it benefit from being rural urban fringe? So if it's there is enough space for expansion. So we'll say enough space for expansion of the industry, then precious parking space, as they are not congested like in urban areas. Then you can also talk about accessibility to the CBD and talk about accessibility to the CBD. Okay, how has the recent urban expansion of large cities changed the rural urban fringes? How has it changed the rural urban fringes? Okay, then we'll start there by looking at infrastructures for the building density has increased. The building density has increased. In the rural urban fringe, the building density has increased in the rural urban fringe. And you also talk about the land value, of rural urban areas, of rural urban fringe goes up or rises. Okay, we're looking at what recent changes of the rural urban fringe. How have they changed the rural urban fringe? When you look at this, then you will see that the space is limited. So many cities have developed the houses. Few major recent houses have developed in the rural urban fringe. Okay, because of that. 1.5. 1.5 is basically the informal settlement. Informal settlement in South Africa. We have to read this extract. Government reports suggest that between 2000 and 2001, informal settlements in South Africa increased from 300 to 2,180. The poverty levels in informal settlements are evident in the tiny spaces, overcrowding, and overlapping structures, conditions that create the conducive environment for the rapid spread of diseases. The human settlement sector set a target of providing housing with basic services to 400,000 informal settlement households by 2018. According to the government report and settlement, the target have not been met. First question. Give one characteristics of the uh, settlements visible in the photograph. What do you see? Which kind of settlement? Small or medium houses. That is one. When you look at them, these houses are also close to each other. There is limited space for expansion. Then you can see the materials used to build these houses are not that high class materials. So we can say collocated materials are being used to build such houses. Okay, there is no well developed or well structured infrastructures. Okay, in that it's not a clear infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So I want us to outline them down here, but they say they want one. So you can say medium or small houses, or small houses are built. Okay, the building density, we can talk about small houses are built and no proper roads accessing the area. Okay, then you can talk about houses built close to each other. Then you can also talk about a lot of things, but they only need one. So you choose any of those ones. Okay, state to negative social impact of informal settlement in the extract. In the extract, what are the social negative impact? Have aspects like rapid spread of diseases, rapid spread of diseases, that is informal. Okay, that is social negative impact. Then you also have high poverty levels. High poverty levels. That is also social. You can talk about overcrowding. That is also social, but they need two anyway. Give two economic reasons for the rapid increase of socials. Why are they increasing, but they're only looking for economic? So we can say lack of income. Okay. Then there is high rate of unemployment. All those ones can be economic. And the last section under that question one is in the paragraph of approximately 8 lines. Explain why the government has failed to assist the communities living in informal settlement. Why do you think the government? Remember, learners, you write this in a paragraph question, but I'll outline them for you. However, the points you're writing in a paragraph, it should be a point that makes sense. Okay. So why do you think the government has failed? Number one, they are greatly increasing. So the informal settlement and informal settlements are rapidly increasing. So they are becoming too many, which makes it so hard for the government. Then you can also look at the fact that high corruption in the government. So people can't afford buying proper houses or getting people proper houses. They end up having informal structures because of the corruption that is existing. Then you can also have inadequate statistics about the informal settlements. We don't have enough statistics or data to base on to say they are 10, they are 20, but they are ever increasing. That's why it's like that. Then you can also look at the fact that government lacks enough funding, limited or inadequate funds. Inadequate funds from the government. The government is not having enough money to do all that. So if you're to build for everyone, you have to spend billions and billions of money and trillions of money to ensure that everyone gets such assistance. So you can look at that and make a paragraph. Okay. We go to question 2. Question 2, we are also just choosing which one is the right. 2.1.1, manufacturing is an example of which one? It's manufacturing. Obviously, it is secondary. Light industry generally located close to the CBD, away from the residential area, near the raw materials, and near the bulk raw materials. So all these ones are wrong. The only option is A. Okay, 2, 3. 2, 3. We're looking at 2.3. 2.3. An iron and steel plant is an example of which kind of industry? Is it footloose, break of bulk, raw material orientated, or market oriented? So that 2.13, I feel the answer is C. Okay, the sketch below is dash an example of which kind of industry. We're looking at this sketch 2.4. So 2.4, I feel this is a bridge because there is change from one mode of transport to another, because these are this is like a truck on the road. This is from offloading from the containers and so on and so forth. This model is like B, which is bridge, which is the break of bulk. Okay. A bakery is an example of which kind of industry? This is what you call a market oriented, because you have to locate them close the market as bread gets, or those bakery and the bakery products get spoiled so quickly. Okay, 2.6. This illustration below is an example of which it's Wi-Fi, internet. This is what? This is ubiquitous, which is D. Remember how we say they can be anywhere so long as there is market. Okay. An oil refinery is an example of which kind of industry? Oil refinery, that is heavy industry, which is B. Okay. Heavy industries are characterized by, let's check, high level of air pollution. Obviously, that is true. So wherever there is one, it can be right. So this and this is okay, and this one, but this one is out because it is only having 2 and 3. There must be a high level of air pollution. So the second one is their location on small land. That one is out. So wherever there is 2, it's out. So that means we eliminate this. Okay. And we eliminate, this one is already eliminated. So what are we remaining with? With D and what? And B. So if it's D and B, let's go to the next one. This one says their location close to bulky transport. That is true. And low levels of noise pollution. No, they have high level of noise pollution. So it should be 2 and 3. 2 and 3 is D. Okay. We go down. We say choose the terms that match with the description. Exchange of goods and services between countries. That is Y, which is international trade. Unfavorable balance of trade. What does it do? That means if it's unfavorable, there is more import than what? Than export. So 2 is Z. It increases unemployment. So goods which are brought from another country, are they exports or they are import? Obviously, they are imports. Okay. 2.4, benefits of international trade, access to foreign currency and decrease in investment. It's a benefit. Decrease cannot be a benefit. So the answer is obviously the Y. Activities of the tertiary sector. Which activity? Transport and trade. Construction is secondary. So we take Y here. Okay. 2.6, an efficient public transport system. Public transport system increases economic cost or increases production. Does it increase economic cost? No. If it is efficient, why can it increase economic cost? Obviously, it will have to increase production. The difference in the value between the country's imports and exports, that is obviously the balance of trade, is the country's imports and exports. Not what you pay for those imports, but what is coming in. So we have 2.3, which is referring to sugarcane production. It's an infograph. So we have to read it and we interpret the corresponding, the necessary diagrams that are there. Okay. So they say sugarcane farming. Although the physical factors on the east coast of South Africa are conducive to sugarcane growing or farming, the production has decreased. In 2 decades, the country's annual sugar production has shrunk by nearly 25%. The number of sugarcane farmers decreased by 60%. Many South African towns and rural villages would crumble as they are either partly or entirely dependent on the sugarcane farming. Demand for sugar is in the Southern African Customs Union has dropped from 1.65 million tons to 1.25 million tons a year, forcing South Africa to decrease its exports to the global market. So we see here the eastern side of South Africa with the province here, Mpumalanga, KZN. Now it's Durban here as a city. The first importance is creation of employment. Since they're barely or entirely or partly depending on sugarcane growing. So there is creation of what? Of employment. That is one. Remember, it's 2 times 2. So besides creation of employment, you can say provision of food, or let me say development of industries. Development of industries. Then we can also talk about provision of raw materials, okay, to industries. It provides raw materials. So the sugarcane farming provides raw materials to the industries. Provision of raw materials. Okay, I'm just writing many, but you need a few. That is in the agro-based industries. Okay, then you can also talk about development of infrastructures, encouraging exports and imports, etc. But you only need 2 according to mark allocation. So explain 3 economic factors that have negatively impact on sugarcane production in South Africa. Economic factors. Which economic factors that have negatively impact on sugarcane growing production in South Africa? They are looking at negative impact, but they only look at economic factors. So those economic factors, first of all, we have drop in demand according to the extract, drop in demand for sugarcane in the Southern Africa. So that means that is economic. There is no demand. Okay. Then you also look at aspects like loss of sales to sugar tax, loss of sales to sugar tax, loss of sales to sugar tax. Then you can talk about labor strikes. Those are all economic negative impact on sugarcane production. So labor strikes, that reduces the amount of workers that are going to be in the sugarcane production. And this result and lead to disinvestment. Disinvestment from South Africa. So people won't want to invest in the country. 2.4. Refer to the map extract below about Maputo Corridor Spatial Development Initiative. This is the SDI. Here we go. This is Johannesburg. It shows you Middelburg, Secunda, ML, Swaziland, Maputo, whatever. You can interpret Tanzania. There are very many aspects here, countries, but there is Maputo. First of all, what do we need to note? Johannesburg is part of South Africa, which is here. Okay, Maputo is part of Mozambique. Let's look at the extract that is provided below. If you're driving by road from Johannesburg to Maputo, is 581 kilometers. If you're going by railway transport from Johannesburg to Maputo, is 590 kilometers. Okay. The first thing is the Maputo corridor. The Maputo corridor was launched as a Spatial Development Initiative, SDI, in 1996, as the governments of South Africa and Mozambique initially sought to rebuild their economies and restore trade and investment ties. Both governments agreed on enormous potential benefits of rehabilitating the key elements of this vital strategic transport corridor, which links the port of Maputo with Africa's most vibrant economic hub, the city of Johannesburg. This Spatial Development Initiative was the means chosen to maximize investment in the potential of the Maputo corridor and fulfill the aims of sustainable economic and social development along its length and surrounding areas. Okay, so that is just supplementing the diagram above. First question, which country is linked to South Africa by Maputo Corridor Special Development Initiative? Obviously, the answer is anywhere here. Okay, Mozambique. So we say Mozambique. Okay, what was the initial aim of launching the Maputo Corridor? Initial aim of launching the Maputo Spatial Development Initiative, as stated in the extract. I think choose to maximize investments. Okay, so we can say here to rebuild, no, here it is written to rebuild their economies and restore the trade investment. So we shall say here, it's one mark, to rebuild their economies, and restore trade and investments. Restore trade and investments. Okay. Name one core industrial region that will benefit most from the Maputo corridor. One core industrial region. Since we are talking about Johannesburg and all that, the only core industrial region is P.2, which is Pretoria, Witwatersrand, and Vereeniging. Pretoria, Witwatersrand, and Vereeniging. Okay, 2.44. How will the Maputo Spatial Development Initiative create business opportunities for underdeveloped communities along the corridor? How will the Maputo corridor, that spatial initiative, create business opportunities? Okay, it will attract investors because there are well roads developed in terms of infrastructures, and if investors come in, they will help to develop the underdeveloped communities to its potential. So attract investors to come to the region or to the countries. Okay, that is one. Then it will also help to improve infrastructural development. Like roads, that are going to be built, like that corridor N4. When you look at is it N4 or N14? Yeah, sorry, N14. That is basically built, linking those different areas. Okay, N14. Then you can look at other aspects like it will effectively allow full utilization of the available resources, effectively contribute to full utilization of the available resources, available natural resources. So they will be basically used because of the road so that they can get out the effective use of those resources. Lastly, under this section is that in the paragraph of approximately 8 lines, it's a paragraph question now. Here, explain how upgrading of the different types of infrastructures positively impact on trade for the core industry region mentioned above. So if they upgrade the different types of infrastructures, say roads, schools, hospitals, and everything, how will it positively impact on trade for the core region? Okay, it will positively impact on trade in one way or the other. Number one, it will improve accessibility. The area will be easily accessed. So if the roads are upgraded, infrastructure is well built, so the area will be easily accessed. Okay, that's number one. And therefore, due to this, efficiency and production will increase. Increase in production. So how will production increase? Production will increase because roads are upgraded, infrastructures are upgraded, and therefore this will have a positive impact on this region as production will increase in this region because people will be coming through and in and out. So it will also make it easier for investors. It will attract investors in the region because the region is clearly well accessed because of the different infrastructure that are built, and that will allow to improve investments. Okay, so we can also say that trade with other, or it will promote trade with other countries or regions will easily be promoted. Why? The area is well developed, production has increased, therefore people will easily use or trade with those areas, and that will improve development. It will boost tourism in the area. Boost tourism in the area. All those ones are benefits that you can write in a paragraph format. You'll excuse me for my handwriting, but I'll improve over time. 2.5. Refer to the cartoon and extract below, which is on informal trading in defense of South Africa's informal sector. Here is a cartoon. The police officer is coming to someone who is selling, maybe on the street. Then he's saying, "Do you have a permit?" The lady is replying, "No, I can't afford it." Obviously, it simply means she's not having a permit. A shadow economy. Some call the informal sector the shadow economy. They also complain about the lack of tax paid by the informal sector. So many of our vendors are trading without permits and are subject to regular raids by the city's law enforcement, during which their goods are seized and fines are issued. They claim that official employment data underestimates the informal sector is based on the assumption that many people who undertake activities in the informal sector are mistakenly counted as unemployed because there is no proper data, or the employment data that is given is underestimated. Okay, the vast majority of the informal operators, 73%, earn well below the income tax, threshold of 79,000 per annum set by the South African Revenue Services. In addition, many informal sector workers, and particularly those in retail, pay VAT on their purchases. So what is a shadow economy? The contribution is not known. It means there's no proper data. We don't see their contribution generally. 2.5. Give the other name for the informal sector. Shadow economy. Shadow economy. Okay. Why does the trader in the cartoon not have a permit? Why does the trader in the cartoon not have a permit? Why do they not have a permit? She doesn't have a permit because, according to her in the extract, she says, no, I can't afford it. So if she can't afford, that's why she's not having. So the question is, why is she not having a permit? She's not having a permit because she can't afford it. Can't afford it. Okay. Quote one consequence from the extract for the trader who does not have a permit. Somewhere it is written that their goods are seized and fines are issued. So the question is saying, give one consequence from the extract for the trader. So these vendors are trading without permits and are subject to regular raids by the city's law enforcement, during which their goods are seized. So under that means besides the raids, goods are seized and fines are issued. Okay, goods are issued, is seized, and fines are issued. Okay, why are people in the informal sector mistakenly referred to as unemployed? Why do they mistakenly refer to them unemployed? So the claim is that official employment data underestimates the informal sector is based on the assumption that many people who undertake this activity in the informal sector are mistakenly counted as unemployed. So that means there's no proper data. Okay. Because the official employment data underestimates them. Why these people are unemployed? Official data underestimates them. Official employment data underestimates them. Estimates them. Okay, underestimates them. How does the economy benefit from the informal sector? How do they benefit? First of all, employment, creation of employment. So they benefit because they are employed. Creation of employment, that is one benefit. Besides that one benefit, these people also pay tax. They pay VAT. They pay VAT on their purchases. They pay VAT on their purchases. Okay. On top of that, you can have others selling of cheap goods to the people or making goods accessible to the people, etc. 2.5 suggest 3 incentives that the government can provide to regulate the informal sector. What can the government do? So we say building formal stores for the traders. So they should build stores for them where they can put them such that they can be regulated, or they can regulate this informal sector. Okay. So we have seen that in the cartoon somewhere there, she said she can't afford. That means it is expensive. So what do they do? What can we say? The government can subsidize the permits. So let them put permits on raw costs so that everyone can easily have it, as they will be in position to access it. Okay. Then we can say, remember, there is there are not enough toilets for these people. What can they do? Build public toilets in the areas where the informal businesses are existing. Okay. Then we can also talk about the issue of encouraging, educate them, and encourage them to formalize their businesses. Maybe some of them do not know. Okay. Then you can also through. So that marks the end of our question 1 and 2. Unfortunately, I couldn't do this section B because I'm sorry for that, but I will let you know when I'm going to do the section of map work. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Recording stopped.
So when the recording, I stopped it.
So let us look at industrial centralization and decentralization. Like we spoke earlier, decentralization of industries. This is when industries move away from the core regions to the other areas. So that is decentralization, meaning like we saw industries could cluster in one particular area because of the given factors. So to decentralize is like those industries now they are dispersing away. For example, if I can illustrate it here, this could be a core area and we have a variety of industries in this particular point, meaning now these industries they need to start to move away and they could locate to point B, move to point B, point C, point D, point E, point F, so X, W. So you could see, so by doing this, we refer to it as industries and businesses decentralizing or moving away from the core areas to other places. Industrial centralization. Now, with centralization, where industries move to one core area, they move to one core area. It's like they cluster in one region. So this could be a centralization. Because remember, with decentralization, they move away from the core areas. Then to centralize, like all industries now are moving to one given area. This is to centralize. All right, now we want to see the advantages and disadvantages, firstly, of industrial centralization. So reasons why decentralization must occur. They say there is uneven spread of financial resources and services in South Africa. So instead of industries clustering to one area, so it is emphasized that these industries need now to spread to various areas, and as well, job opportunities are not evenly spread within the country. Because with industrial centralization, you find that jobs are only focused in particular areas and others are being left out. That is why if you come this other side, for industrial decentralization. If industries are moving to such areas, choose the color here. If industries are now moving to such places, it means that there will be job distribution in so many places instead of jobs only focusing to this particular point here. Because with this one here, with centralization, we see jobs are focused in a particular area. But if we compare with decentralization, jobs are spreading to different areas. That is why, secondly, they said another reason for decentralization was to try to distribute jobs evenly within the country. So let us try to look at the advantages of centralization of industries and businesses. Like if industries are focused in one particular area, how is that an advantage? They say the first one, for major industries, for major industries, areas are highly developed. So meaning because of centralization, there will be high development of industries. Then secondly, there's a multiplier effect when similar industries are cluster, meaning a lot of goods are being produced, resulting into high demand and as well high expenditure. People are having more jobs, also increasing their incomes, which results into more demand for goods. Also, good infrastructure and communication is being promoted when industries are clustered in a particular area. So meaning that that area, they'll develop better infrastructures and as well good labor market. So industries won't struggle to look for workers because they know if they're within a given area, many people would cluster in that particular place, resulting into high job creation. The disadvantages, rural areas and outlying areas remain underdeveloped because, like we mentioned, if industries are only focusing to this given area here, it means that the surrounding rural areas will be left underdeveloped. And they say housing shortage in core regions because of industries centralizing, time reaches and there is shortage of accommodation for the workers due to high population or due to high number of people that are clustering to that given area. Talk about rural towns decline because now there is no more active youth and as well no more active businesses. Most of the businesses are situated in the core areas, meaning that rural economies will drop. There are no customers, no businesses, which affects the economy, and high levels of pollution and environmental degradation in the core areas. So we know that the more the industries, the more the pollution, which will affect the environment negatively. Then, if you look at industrial decentralization, reasons for decentralization here, they say decentralization may be required by government to stimulate growth in outlying areas. Like we did mention here, when industries decentralize, it means it is going to as well develop these areas here than before, because before these industries, so these areas were underdeveloped. But because of decentralization, it will stimulate the economic growth of these outlying areas other than focusing in a particular place. Another reason, there will be depletion of resources, meaning in such areas, resources might be finished or might no longer be enough to accommodate the industries. That is why some industries try to move away to other areas which could have maybe more resources. And third, they need to reduce transport costs by going closer to the market. So that's why most industries have now decentralized to look for customers or to move close to the customers to avoid on the transport costs and the product no longer in demand. So some move away because they no longer have a lot of customers. What could be the effects of decentralization of industries? They say job losses may occur when companies close down where they left. Remember, now if companies are moving away from the core area, for example, at A, if they are moving away, it means they are closing, definitely moving to other places, meaning they say jobs in these areas are going to be lost. I think we saw this like for example during COVID, where most companies closed down, which resulted in too many people being jobless, and as well more employment opportunities where these companies relocate. If they move away from area A and relocate to area B, it means now will be more jobs for the local people in such areas. Outlying rural areas will benefit from improved infrastructures, which becomes now an advantage. So that is about industrial centralization and decentralization. Let's look at the tertiary economic sector key concepts. Tertiary, which says involve the provision and distribution of services to the businesses and to the consumers. Like we saw with primary sector is about extraction of raw materials. Then we saw the secondary sector, processing of raw materials. Now, with tertiary sector, they say it involves the provision of services to the businesses and to the consumers. And as well, we could say provision of goods and services to the consumers. So this is with the tertiary sector. So there is provision of goods and services, meaning the primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector, they are interlinked, meaning raw materials move from the primary to the industries, they are processed into goods, then goods are going to be taken to the tertiary sector, where they will be provided to the consumers. So that is why tertiary sector involves the provision of and distribution of services. And we spoke about the difference between a good and the services. We said the goods are tangible and services are intangible. The services. All right. Then we as well another concept, which is centralization, and we saw more about this, which means over concentration of activities in a few core industrial areas, meaning that industries are more clustered in PWV in Gauteng, Durban Pinetown, it is in KwaZulu-Natal, Port Elizabeth, and the Southwestern Cape. So there are more industries that have clustered in those four major areas. That is what we said regarding centralization, industries concentrating in a given few core areas. Then the decentralization, where industries move to outlying areas which are underdeveloped. Like also we did show, this could be core areas. Industries try to move out of these areas to the outlying areas. So centralization, industries are all moving to one core area. Then decentralization, industries, they move away from the core areas. Then trade, the exchange of goods for money. Like we saw, for example, if countries are dealing in export trade, they sell goods to other countries and in return they get money. In local trade, the exchange of goods and services within the country. Sometimes we can as well call it domestic trade, where we are selling goods within our boundaries or within the boundaries of the country. Then we look at international trade, which is the exchange of goods and services between two or more countries. So this includes examples, export and import trade, where exports, countries, they buy from other countries, and exports, countries sell to other countries. Balance of payment, the financial statement showing the value of a country's transaction with the rest of the world to show how much was, for example, South Africa received after selling to other countries, or how much it spent when it was buying from other countries. So that will be the balance of payment. And balance of trade, the difference in value between the visible and invisible imports or exports. Then exports, goods and services that are sold to foreign countries. Then favorable trade balance occurs when exports are greater than imports. Then we say it's favorable trade because we know the more you sell, the more money comes into the country, which makes it more favorable. But if you are buying more, that means you are spending a lot of money, and if you are selling less, so we shall say the country will be experiencing unfavorable. Unfavorable, this is when the imports are greater than the exports. But when it is favorable, this is when the exports are greater than the imports, meaning the country benefits more when it is selling to other countries, which means more money is coming to the country. Then foreign exchange, the money paid to South Africa by other countries, get dollars, pounds, etc. So meaning if South Africa, let's say, trades with countries in the USA to be earning dollars, or in UK, those especially pounds or euros, among others. Then imports, goods and services that are bought from foreign countries. If we give an example, for South Africa buying clothes from China, that would be import trade. Our next is informal sector. Like all along, we have been looking at the formal sector. And formal sector, as we know, these are registered businesses which contributes to the GDP and as well to the economy positively. If you look at the informal sector concept, it says the unregistered and the unregulated sector of the economy, meaning we're looking at businesses that are not registered by SARS and they don't contribute directly to the economy of the country. That is why we're going to say they are unregistered and unregulated, meaning their incomes, the costs, supplies are not regulated by the government. So they do things their own way. Now, let us try to look at the characteristics of the informal sector. What is it made of? They say operations are on a small scale, meaning most of the businesses that are under informal sector they are on a smaller scale. For example, if you look at people and say street vendors, hawkers, hairdressers. And most of these ones, their businesses are on a smaller or on a small scale, meaning they don't usually have businesses on large scales. Low costs are involved in starting a business. So, for example, if you're a street vendor or if you're a hawker, you don't need a lot of money to start the business. That's why we say low costs are involved, or you need less capital to start the business. Low use of technology, but labor intensive. They don't use much of technology, but then at times they inject a little bit of more capital, or meaning you need more workers in that particular field. No access to credit facilities from financial institutions. So this becomes a challenge to the informal businesses, whereby you don't have access to financial institutions such as loans, because of these financial institutions are scared to lend money to these informal businesses due to security reasons. So it becomes a disadvantage to the informal businesses, usually owned by families. So since they're on a smaller scale, you may find a family owning a small business. So it goes on like that. They do not pay any income, or they do not pay any income tax, like we mentioned. They're not registered by SALS, so they don't contribute positively to the GDP or to the economy. They are as a result of unemployment and poverty, meaning that most people are into informal businesses because they fail to get formal jobs, and also they're into poverty. So this forces them to start these small businesses as a way of surviving. Now we look at reasons for high informal sector in South Africa. Why are many businesses are into this informal sector? Or why do we have so many informal businesses in South Africa? Number one, they don't pay taxes. So because they know they're not contributing to SALS, because we know small businesses, they have to pay a percentage to SALS because of their businesses. But for informal businesses, that's why it is on a rise, because at the end, they're not being pressurized by the government to contribute to SALS. They form as a result of unemployment. So meaning that many people in South Africa don't have jobs. Therefore, they go into informal businesses as a way to start up something, as to survive. So employees don't contribute to pension or UIF funds or medical aid. So it is another reason why there's a high rise of these small businesses, because whatever they earn goes straight to their pockets without any other contributions such as UIF or medical aids. They form due to poverty. As we know, many people are unemployed, are living in poverty, food insecure. Therefore, they go for such informal businesses or activities to reduce on their levels of poverty. So drop in the economy as well resulted in high rise of informal businesses in South Africa, meaning that the economy is no longer able to support growth. Therefore, people have resorted in starting their own ways of surviving by coming up with informal businesses. Others, they lack formal skills. That is why they engage into these informal businesses, because majority of them do not require formal skills. Because we know, if you look at formal skills like medicine, law, engineering, where you need to go formal training to acquire skills. However, informal businesses such as street vendors, hawkers, hairdressers, they don't need too much of the formal skills to operate such businesses. That is why there is a high rise in such. Second, another factor or reason, it is cheap and easy to start, meaning it is not that complicated as compared to the formal businesses, because we know formal businesses, there are a lot of things that need to be worked on, such as compliance with the municipality laws, etc., which makes it a bit expensive and not easy to start. Therefore, with informal businesses, most people engage in them because it is easy and cheap to start. Mechanization in farming causes many people to lose their jobs, because we know mechanization, where tractors or machines are replacing people, meaning majority do no longer have jobs, which means they have to find other means of surviving. That is why they resort into starting their own businesses. And another reason, formal businesses subcontracting for businesses that they can evade taxes. So another reason, and immigrants who do not have work permits as well resort into these businesses to survive, because with formal businesses, like we mentioned before, it will require them to have a variety or to be compliant with the immigration laws. All right. Now look at challenges facing South Africa's informal sector, where they say one, lack of support from the local government. So in this case, the informal business do not get support from the local government. This could be as a result of not them being registered or not known. It's like they're in the shadow kind of market. Therefore, they don't get support from the local government to boost them or to improve on their capital, which at the end becomes a challenge. Secondly, another challenge, irregular and low income, meaning this month you may be selling your magwinyas and you end up getting, let's say, 600 rands per week. Then next week it becomes a challenge and you sell the fat cooks and maybe you get 200 rands. So there's no stability in the income. That's why we say the income is irregular and low. Then limited access to financial assistance, like we mentioned earlier. So this becomes a challenge because majority of informal traders won't have access to financial assistance such as loans, because we know these financial assistance requirements, they'll ask for securities, So because these businesses are not registered, so the financial lenders are scared to offer loans to such. Lack of education. Majority of these informal traders don't have education, meaning they don't have required skills like to boost their businesses. And the lack of storage facilities, like we mentioned, they move from one place to another. So they don't have permanent storage facilities where they could keep their items or goods to be in good conditions. Yeah, these are some of, as well, we can mention about the weather conditions. E.g., at times could be rain, coldness, and heat. It is too hot. So also this becomes another challenge. And as well, could say they are harassed by municipality, which becomes another challenge among other challenges. All right. The importance or the role of the informal sector in the economy. One, provided critical or much needed employment for the poverty-stricken. So like we said, because of the informal businesses, many people are able to employ themselves or start up something which at the end will reduce on their poverty levels, improve the quality of life, because we know at least they are able to earn an income, meaning they're able to afford some of their basic needs, meaning they'll be able to improve on their life, reduces crime among us, the unemployed, because we know one of the major causes of crime is unemployment, where people don't have jobs, then they resort to crimes such as robbery, hijacking, etc. Therefore, if there are these informal businesses where people can start on their own, it means it reduces on the levels of crime within the country and contributes the country's economy, whereby people are being employed, earn income, etc. And informal traders support formal trading, where they get goods from the formal sector, because we know, like nowadays I see a lot of people selling chicken livers, chicken feet by the roads, meaning that at the end they are buying that from those formal shops. Even hairdressers, they buy from formal shops, and at the end sell them as informal businesses. So it somehow they are supporting the formal businesses of more trading, encourages entrepreneurship amongst communities. As we know, this is people are able to start their own businesses. So those are some of the importance of the informal sector. Then we look at the strategies for strengthening the informal sector, because we know despite not being unregistered and regulated by the government, but now they need to be strengthened, because we have seen one of the importance of this informal sector, creating jobs, reducing poverty, reducing crime, etc. So meaning that sector as well has to be strengthened. In which way? One, the government can provide storage facilities and support services to ensure that the items or the goods of the informal traders are kept well and in good health. And as well, education in entrepreneurial skills and training, like to offer more programs to ensure that the informal traders also acquire more skills or acquire more business skills so as to improve on their businesses. Provide financial support to the informal assessment, because we saw the challenge that they faced. They never had access to financial support such as loans. So if a government is able to come up with a strategy on how best to support these informal traders, this will boost their income and as well improve on their informal businesses. Allocation of a site and services for informal sector, because one challenge they faced was they didn't have permanent working premises, meaning that at the end they will be working all over in the sun, the whole day, in the rain, the coldness. If the government is able to allocate a site where they could do their activities, that will be a boost, because that means they will be stationed in a particular place where customers will as well develop confidence in their in these informal traders. Registration of the informal sector. I think this could be another boost. If they are registered, that means they as well will be able to get more support from the municipality or from the local government. And partnership must be created between the informal traders and the formal businesses. So those are some of the strategies that can be implemented to support the informal.
The learners are going to be close. Communal ownership of land. That means if the land is owned communally, everyone can have a share and can stay where they want. So I'm looking at the possible options here, and I'm looking at B2B, the possible option. Because when I look at communal ownership of land, everyone is allowed to settle on that land. That means they can be on that land in that communal setting. So I'm looking at the best option to be water source, which is abundance. Okay. Then we go to the next question that says, an advantages of rural nucleated settlement. Advantage of rural nucleated settlement is which one? Advantages of rural nucleated settlement. I'm looking at C as the best option. A dash is the location of the settlement in relation to the surroundings area, and I'm looking at D as the best option. Okay. A dry point settlement is located far away from the water source because water is scarce. No. Far away, far from water because water is a threat. I'm looking at that to be our best option. Okay, because it's not near water. So the two near water, I look at them as not the right options. 1.6. The sketch below refers to that shaped settlement. Which one is that? You can see it's a crossroad. These are settlements cross. So you can see the option is what? It's C. So they say the circular shape, it's the shape of a settlement below. The key is indicating that these are buildings here. This is a lake, it's a road. Okay. So if these settlements are in this circular shape, which ones? What influences the circular shape is a lake. Do you have a lake here? Yes. Go to 1.18. The following physical features. Physical factors determine the site. Physical. First of all, let us take out what is not physical. Accessibility to the road is out because it is not physical. This at the market is out because it's not physical. Which one do we have physical? Relief is physical, fertile soil is physical. So we have, which options do we have? 4 and 3. So 4 and 3 is D. Okay. Go to the next question. Choose the word or the term to refer to answer this one. So their answers are here. The process whereby increasing percentage of country's population is concentrated in urban area automatically is Y. Okay. Increase in the number of people living in urban areas. It can't be red because that is the pace, but increase is going to be population growth. Okay. Look at the next option, 1.23. 1.23. The process whereby people move from urban areas, we're looking at urban, into the surrounding rural area. Therefore, the best option for that is counter urbanization. Okay. Increase in the actual physical size of the urban area is urban expansion. Okay. Unplanned spread of urban area, urban spiral. Okay. Decrease in the number of people living in rural area. Is it rural urban migration or rural depopulation? Let's check out. Automatically, it's depopulation. Okay. Then arrangement of a settlements in an area from the smallest is hierarchy, which is Y. So therefore, here we have Y. Okay. So here we have Y, Z, Z, Y, Y, Z, and Y. Then you have a text here that we need to read before you proceed. It says South Africa fresh approach to land reform. South Africa currently faces a problem as a process of land reform has advanced too slowly and much of the land that has been transferred has become economically inactive. Conflicting or different views cause South Africans to have questions about land reforms. What is the future of the land reform in South Africa? Can the process be accelerated? Will it produce equal outcomes? Does those interests will be served? Okay. At South Africa's Agriculture Congress, a panel discussion on the future of the land reform agreed that when it comes to successful land reform, intense negotiations and compromises are necessary. Okay, unnecessary. um, Unnecessary. Sorry, in South Africa. Sorry, conflicting or different views cause South Africans to have questions about land reforms. Which is which? What is the future of the land reform in South Africa? Can the process be accelerated? Will it produce equal outcomes? Whose interests will be served? At South Africa's agriculture, um, at a South African Agriculture Congress, a panel discussion on the future of the land reform agreed that when it comes to successful land reform, intense negotiations and compromises are necessary. This is in keeping with the three pillars of land reforms, namely redistribution, tenure, and reinstitution. Land reinstitution provides a challenge as funding needs to be allocated to compensate dispossessed communities for land previously lost. Well-managed land reform can create assets for the poor, stabilize relationships, and promote development. On the other hand, if it is poorly managed, it destroys assets, causing poverty and communities to be weakened. Okay? It weakens the economy. So poorly managed, they are showing you here in this picture that if it's purely managed, you can see people are dispossessed of their land. The land is lost, it's grabbed. Okay, everyone is grabbing the land. Then here, if it's well managed, people are well settled, economic activities will take place, settlements will be taking place, and so on and so forth. Okay. The first question is, what is land reform? When I look at land reform here, how do I define it? Okay, land reform is going to be defined as land reform will be defined as sorry, my pen is acting up. Land reform will be defined as revising revising land policy. This technology is acting up. All right, sorry, my pen is acting up, but I'll try to sort it out immediately. So what do we say? It's a revising of land policies. Revising of landing policies. Revising of land policies. So that is going to be the land reforms. Revising of land policies. Okay. Revising of the land policies. So we come here. The next question says, according to the extract, what is the benefit of well-managed land reform? According to the extract. So we go back to the extract and we check the benefits. What is the benefit? Somewhere when you read the land reforms here, they're telling you that well-managed land reform can create assets for poor, stabilizes relationships, and promote development. So the answer comes from here. So this is where we get our answer for this question. Okay, then we proceed. Why is land restitution considered to be a challenge? Why is it considered to be a challenge? We check there and see why is it considered to be a challenge. How is it a challenge? We go back here. Land restitution, it is indicated somewhere here that this is keeping with the pillar of the reforms, namely these three pillars, and then they said land restitution provides a challenge as funding needs to be allocated to compensate. It's a challenge because funds are not readily available to compensate, because funds need to be allocated or funds need to be available. So it becomes a challenge because the funds need to be available, but in most cases it be available. Okay, we got the next one. Which is B now. B saying, how does this B here illustrate the successful land restitution? How is it illustrating? You can see here agreement has been reached. So when you check A, you can see that there is grabbing of land, things are flying away, people are dispossessed of their land, their property is now thrown away. But here, where there is agreement, you can see that settlements are well established. So that means, how does B illustrate successful process? Because settlements are well established, farming and other activities are going on well on the land, infrastructures are also well developed on the land, which signifies that really it has been a success. Than here, where you see things are flying away because there is grabbing of land, people are dispossessed, the farm is disrupted. But here it's well established because a decision has been reached. Okay, we go to 1.34. Which factors caused the process of land reform to advance too slowly? Which factor? Why is it advancing too slowly? Which factors? We need to check on the factors from the extract, or we can think of some others that might not be there. But when you check, you'll find out the factors that have caused it to be advancing slowly is the fact that conflicting views about the land reforms. So it is very slow because, number one, there is still conflicting views. There are still conflicting views about the land reforms. People are not sure if really it will benefit them or not. So such a factor has caused it to be too slow because of conflicts. Number two is having different interests. People have got different interests to be served. I think when you even check the extract here somewhere, it says that will the people, those interests, will they be served? In other words, there are different interests. Others are thinking that it might not work. Others are thinking that the future land reforms in South Africa will change. So the different views, because different views are existing, it retards the process or it slows down the process. Then you also still look at that there is still a very big gap between the poor, between the owners of the land and those ones that are being or want to buy the land. So we look at the fact that there is different views. We look at the fact that it's conflicts. We also look at the fact that there is still a gap between the current owners of the land and those ones who are willing to buy. In other words, there's still a gap between the black and the white people. Okay. 1.35. Explain the social benefit of the well-managed land reforms. Social. The question is looking at social benefits. So if you talk about social, what do we talk about? It helps to reduce poverty. Poverty will be reduced. Remember here we write it in a sentence. Poverty will be reduced. That's the first social benefit. Number two, it will stabilize relationships. Stabilize relationships. It will stabilize relationships. Okay, maybe you can also look at people's standards of living will also improve, but since it is 2 max times 2, poverty will be alleviated or reduced, stabilizing relationships and also improving. So if poverty is reduced, automatically the standards of living will be improved. Okay, we got the second question or another question that talks about the question. We have it here, which says that it refers to the infograph below of a central business district of Johannesburg, okay, as a land use. So we come here, the graph here is indicating from low to high. This is the land value, and A, which we said is the CBD, B is the transition zone. You can see the profile of the urban area going outwards, and they're showing you that the land value here in B is in A is high, in B it is still high but not reaching B, and so on and so forth. As you go outwards, the land value declines. Okay, then there is a text here that says the CBD Johannesburg has experienced a decline in economic investment over the past 20 years. This has been due to the problems such as crimes, inefficient public transport, decay, decrease in accessibility. These factors have forced businesses to relocate to outlying business districts, giving rise to commercial decentralization. In spite of this, the land value remains high in the CBD. The transition zone is generally dilapidated, but maintains high land value. Okay, we go to it is indicated these are the structures of the CBD of Johannesburg as it is indicated in the text there in the infograph. State 2 characteristics of Johannesburg CBD. What do you see here? The buildings are too tall. Okay, the height of the building is very high in the CBD. Okay, number two, you also look at the building density. Okay, the building density, the buildings are so close to each other. All right, it's only 2 times 1, so you need to give those two facts. Okay, which of the land use has the highest value as indicated in the graph? Which one has the highest value? Obviously, the graph here is indicating that A has got the highest value. And when you look at A is what? Is a CBD. So the CBD has got the highest land value. How does the land value in that answer above influence the building density? Automatically, if the land value is high, the buildings are going to, every past business person would like to put where the land value is high, or to develop the land value. So meaning that where the land value is high, the business, many businesses are attracted. And if very many businesses are attracted, it simply means we are going to have more buildings. So the building density is going to be high where the land value is high. So here, building density is going to be high where the land value is high. Okay. We go to the next one. Why is the transition zone generally dilapidated despite the high land value? We look at exactly what is happening in the CBD. The CBD has got these problems of crimes, public transport, hard to access, and so on, which means that gives a chance for people to extend to the transition zone, which results its land value to also increase. So why is it generally having a high land value? Why? Because the city or the CBD has got a lot of problems that results into people leaving the CBD, going to the transition zone, and reaching the transition zone, it increases its land value. So the land value is high because the land value is still high, and the buildings are dilapidated because of the increasing population that are transiting towards that region. Number one. Number two, we also look at the fact that the transition zone is accessible. Okay, it's a bit accessible, or the pressure that is put to the CBD has resulted into people leaving the CBD going to the, which means that increase in the population has resulted into generally the buildings to be dilapidated, yet the land value is still high. Okay, we proceed to the next one. 0.45. Why is the outlying business district attractive for the relocation of businesses? Why? So the outlying business districts, because it is far away from the CBD, so that means there is enough space. There is enough space for the expansion. That is the first one. Enough space for expansion. Enough space for expansion. Okay, so enough space for expansion in the outlying business district, which attracts businesses because there is space for them to expand their businesses. Then you also look at them, besides that, they will have enough space for parking, enough parking space, meaning that clients or customers, parking space, clients or customers that are coming to those businesses will have where to park and do their shopping, which attracts businessmen to do their businesses in such areas. Okay. We also look at most of these outlying business districts are close to residential area. Close to residential areas. What does that mean? That residential areas will give market or provide market for the goods. So it becomes the slash hold for the businesses, and therefore it will attract more and more businesses to be operating there. We'll go to the next question. Next question is about the informal settlement. Here is saying that the recent flooding in the Itequini and the surrounding areas has claimed hundreds of lives. Families were displaced from their informal settlement, worsening the housing problems many already face. Rapid urbanization and government failure to deliver sufficient formal housing are among the driving forces behind the increased number of informal settlements. So the unavailability of the suitable land for housing is due to limited progress made with regards to the land policies. This in turn is slowing down the ability of the local governments to provide sufficient housing in areas that are not prone to disasters like flooding. The result is that a quarter of South Africa's urban population is living in informal settlements built wherever people find space, open space that are prone to disasters. They lack basic amenities and infrastructure, such as proper roads and stormwater drainage system. Many informal settlements are situated near water sources and low-lying areas, so which increase flooding risks. Okay. We got the question. What is informal settlement? Informal settlements, these are settlements or built-up areas that are unplanned, 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 and houses are not compliant with the current planning and building regulations. Unplanned built-up areas or settlements where the buildings are uncompliant to the current planning and building regulations. Current planning and building regulations. Okay, current planning and building regulations. Okay, the next one is quote a reason from the extract for the increase in the number of informal settlements in eThekwini. Why are they increasing number of informal settlements in eThekwini? Then we come here. The first quote you're going to have is rapid urbanization. The next quote is going to be that the government are failure to deliver sufficient formal houses. Okay, so the two reasons that we can have is rapid urbanization, okay, and the government failure to provide formal housings. Okay. The next one is why informal settlement in eThekwini is at risk of flooding. It is at risk of flooding because number one, it is situated close to water sources, and in low-lying areas. It is situated close to water sources and in low-lying areas that can be flooded at any time. The next question is 1.5. How would the lack of proper roads negatively impact the emergency services to reach the formal settlements in times of disasters like flooding? Now, we look at these areas not having infrastructures, proper roads, and so on. That means such areas are hard to reach. Areas for informal settlement become hard to reach or they become inaccessible. So at times of disasters, it will be difficult for them to reach those people that have been affected, which really will result into negatively affecting the informal businesses. So because they lack proper roads, it means it will be hard to reach, or they will be inaccessible for them to do or to prevent them from being affected. The last one is a paragraph question in this context. The paragraph question is saying, in a paragraph of 8 lines, suggest the measures to prevent flooding-related disasters. Flooding-related. So the question is looking for the way we can prevent flooding-related disasters in such areas. How can we do that? We can do that by number one, suggest measures to prevent flooding-related. So the first way is by relocating people, relocating people to other areas, that are free from flooding. Okay, you can also look at encouraging people to avoid settling close to water sources, and also in the low-lying areas that can be flooded. Then by the government accelerating the building of formal houses, You can also look at others like by building or by encouraging, by educating masses about the disaster of building in low-lying areas. Okay, we can also use embankments. If they have built their houses, they should put larger or big embankments to prevent flooding to their houses. Such cases can solve the problem. Okay. We can proceed to the next question. We refer to this diagram here, to this table here. We have utilities runs in millions. Here is the gross domestic product for 2020. Here is the gross domestic product for 2021. You can see that there is a slight improvement there. Utilities, this was in 2020. So this column here is for 2020. This column here is for 2021. Okay. So you need to analyze them and get to see some of the possible questions. So we are moving ahead to question 2. The dash of the countries refers to the total value of goods and services produced by permanent inhabitants. We're looking at those people that are permanent inhabitants. Those people that stay in the country. What do? That means I look at this one, and permanent inhabitants become the citizens, and therefore they are the nationals of the country. So the answer is A. Okay. South Africa's gross domestic product enables 2. Is it employment? Not really. Economies of other countries. It enables to compare. So the South Africa's GDP, it helps to compare economies of other countries. Does it enable to compare the economies of other countries? So the South Africa's gross domestic product enables one to compare to other economies. Yes, it can also be standards of living, to compare the standards of living. Not really. Important exports, not really. Basically, they all look similar, but to me, I would choose B. Economies of other countries. There's also employment. So you compare your country's GDP so that you can look at how are you performing in relation to other countries. So your performance will determine. That's what I look at, and that's what I see. The primary activity that contributes most to the GDP, according to the diagram, which one contributes most? They are saying primary activity. Is this primary? No, that is not. Agriculture is primary, service primary? Not. So there are two primaries that we have here, agriculture and mining. So we go here. Agriculture here is 127,114. Then mining and 200. So the only answer that suits there is mining. So we look at mining as the best option. Okay, so the answer there is D. All right. The tertiary economic activity that contributes most to the South Africa's GDP. We are looking at tertiary now. That means you're looking at service. There is a service here. It's utility, which is also a service. Public administration is a service. Transport is a service. But which one contributes most? Okay, which one contributes most to South Africa's GDP? So we come here, we look at those services. This one is 10, this one 3,342, this one is 1 million. So when you look at those public administration is that 300, which one has the biggest number? So we look at service as the best option. Okay, construction is an example of which activity? Is it primary, secondary, tertiary, or quaternary? Obviously, this is a secondary activity. The economic activity that showed the decrease from 2020 to 2021. We're looking at economic activity that showed the decrease from 2020 to 2021. Let's see. 2020 to 2021, 2.16. We go back here. Which one contributes more? Which one showed decrease from 2020 to 2021? Those activities. Yeah. So the options that are given here: utilities, service, construction, or it's agriculture. Let's check here. You can see agriculture from this to this. This one is not there. This one is there. But which one works? So when you look at that, I look at agriculture to be the best option here. Okay. The economic activity that contributed most to this most to the secondary. So let us see which one is secondary here. Is this secondary? No. Is this secondary? No. That means we are similar with A and C. Construction and manufacturing. Which one contributes most? Automatically it's manufacturing. You go back to the table and you will see construction and manufacturing. Which one contributes? This is 500. This is no, wait. Which secondary? So we have construction and manufacturing. Construction is this. Which one contributed most? Let's check. Which one contributed most in 2021? Most in 2021. So we check here. 2021. It's this column. So which one contributed most? This is 114. This is 505 or 6. So which one contributed most of the manufacturing and construction? Automatically it's manufacturing. So the answer, sorry, there is manufacturing. Okay, it's not. Yeah, it's manufacturing. Okay? Yes. 1.82 statements below are true respective of the sector contribution to South Africa's economy. Primary sector contributes least. Secondary sector contributes least. This is wrong. Obvious. Primary sector contributes most. This is wrong. So the both option, primary sector contributes most. Obviously, this is true and this is true. So 1 and 4. So the answer is B. So B becomes the best option. go to the next one. Match the columns. Okay, match each type of industry to the diagram. Okay, they're saying that located close to customers, automatically that is market. So here is market, because of the perishable goods they are located